Hello everybody, it's Gareth at Pod Pit once again, and we have something a little different today. It's not about business. It's nothing to do with business actually. Yes, this is a business podcast, but we're talking about rugby today. And the reason for that is, well, it's my podcast and I wanted to talk about the Lions, so that's the reason. But I will give a quick word of warning. There is no language filter on this episode. Whatever is spoken, and the law of kangaroo court will be upheld. And what goes on the poddy stays on the poddy. So there we go. So we're going to be talking today with my good friends, Matt Gair and John Cooper, about the British and Irish Lions tour to South Africa. Good evening, gents. How are you?
Evening.
Evening, Gaz.
Good to see you both. It's been a while, so it's nice to see your faces.
Likewise.
So British and Irish Lions tour happens once every 4 years. It is pretty much the pinnacle of the game. It's massive. In the diary of every rugby fan, this is one of the biggest events, on a par, if not slightly higher than the World Cup for me. So I wanted to do a podcast episode about it, pick the squad. I love doing this sort of stuff. It's just fun. So I got in touch with a load of my rugby savvy chums, people who are pretty well up on the game and the sport. And unfortunately, they were all busy, so I'm stuck with Matt and John. So what we're going to do, I'm going to quickly introduce the guys, and they're going to give you a bit of an insight into them and their rugby careers. I don't know if that's probably rugby career. So Matt, we're going to come to you first, mate.
Marvellous.
So just give us a quick introduction to yourself, mate, and then I'm going to fire some questions at you.
Yeah, I've known Gaz from school. We rekindled on a gym relationship, should we call it? Mutual passion for rugby and things like so. From Litchfield, where Gaz is initially from as well, although he's left me now and divorced me to go to Salisbury.
Matt and I have got some interesting history on Instagram for some gym related challenges, but you can. I'll put our handles into the show notes, and you can have a look at them because it's good viewing. It's for a bit of a giggle. So Matt, I'm gonna fire some questions at you now. So, what is your national team? Who do you support?
It'll be England, isn't it? Really, home country.
Absolutely, mate. Well done, well done. Club team. Who do you follow?
Leicester
Tigers. It's pretty much the only team other than Wasps really in the Midlands, isn't it? So,
pretty much. Northampton are just down the road, but again, it's east.
Bit far in it as well. It's not really Midlands, I don't think. But right, who's your favourite current player in action right now?
Semi Radradra.
Good choice.
What a legend! What
Good
a player!
Choice. Yeah, I like that. Favourite ever player?
Pains me to say it, he's a Welshman, and it's Shane Williams.
Oh, what a player!
Pains me to say it.
What a player, though!
Unbelievable.
If he got the ball, there was a chance something could happen. Doesn't matter where he was on the pitch.
Magic every time.
Yeah, very good player. Right then, your first rugby club that you played for?
Litchfield.
Was it? Did you play for Litchfield?
Little people league, yeah.
Ah, bloody hell! So that's where you started.
Tiny top age.
And where are you playing now?
Whittington.
Oh, that's in Litchfield as well, isn't it?
Just down the road.
Yeah. Very good, very good. And what was your position when you started playing?
Should be number 8.
Were you?
Yeah.
I do that.
Should be number 8, second row.
Crikey, that's mad. That is, because I actually started at second row.
Yeah, number 8, then second row.
Crazy, that isn't it now? So, and what position do you play now?
I'm surprisingly, I'm a winger now. I've gone the opposite way to everyone else.
That's crackers, isn't it? Like, so most people sort of start on the wing and move in.
Yeah.
And you've started in the middle and moved about as far out as you can, right?
Yeah, wing and outside centre when needed, yeah.
Excellent, good lad. Worst rugby-related injury?
Touch wood. I've not had anything. I've been knocked out a few times, but that is literally it. No breaks, no dislocations, absolutely nothing. Just a couple of concussions and a few knockouts, yeah.
Personally, John, I think he's probably not trying hard enough. Then
Joys of being a winger. We don't get involved.
He's on the wing, mate. He's on the wing.
Just stands well out the way and do nothing.
Right then, what's your best drinking story?
Did the full Monty.
The full Monty.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. Got very drunk. Social club. 300 women. Full Monty.
Excellent.
But then maybe for me, not so much.
Well, if anybody wants to hear that story in more detail, your details will be in the show notes. But we'll leave it there for now. So right then, Mr. Cooper. Thanks, Matt. We'll come to you, Mr. Cooper. Give us a quick intro, and then I'll do the same questions to you, my man.
Yeah, no worries, mate. I'm a photographer by trade. That's how we came to know each other through a mutual friend who introduced us probably 3 or 4 years ago. And we've been sort of working together since then. That's how I've come to be here today. A quick text message from you, and I thought, you know what, I'll give that a go. I'd like speaking about the Lions, so I'll take that.
Well, yeah, it'd be a good giggle, I think, tonight. I'm looking forward to getting into it. So, but before we get started, what's your national team, John?
I'm wearing the rose today. It's England.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by them. Club team. What's your club team?
Well, as coach of the Vizians as helping coach in the Vizians under 11s, I have to say Vizians at the moment. But if we're talking professional teams, I'd go for Wasps these days.
Oh, would you?
Yeah.
Do Vizians come under the Wasps catchment area then?
No, they actually come under Worcester's, which is another Midlands club. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
What about Worcester actually being up the road as well?
Yeah. But they're not always in the Premiership, are they? So they don't get as much exposure probably as the other two.
They're always hanging in there, aren't they?
Yeah, they're up for a couple, down for a couple, and they yo-yo a bit, don't they? So, favourite current player?
It's an English player, Sam Underhill. I'm a big fan of Sam Underhill.
Very good player. Very good player. He's more local to me these days. Bath is probably an hour away from me. So when we get back to stadiums, if you want to come and watch a game, more than welcome.
That'd be awesome.
Crash at ours, go and watch a Bath game at the Rec. That'd be a good giggle. Right, favourite ever player?
Gareth Edwards.
Did you know I'm actually named after him?
Are you really?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't inherit any of his talent other than just his name, really. So, but there we go. You can't have it all, can you? So
yeah. I used to love watching old videos of him when he was when I was in my youth. So
he was an exceptional player. He was ahead of his time in lots of ways, wasn't he? So
and rapid.
Yeah, very, very, very good player. Right, your first rugby club, mate?
Warsaw under 11s or under 10s.
And what position were you playing then?
How rugby's changed. I got thrust into my first game on the first day playing prop.
Prop?
you wouldn't do that with a kid now.
No, you wouldn't. Really wouldn't. No. And, to be honest, mate, I wouldn't do that to you anyway. I don't think you're naturally built to be a prop.
I certainly wasn't when I was 10.
So what position do you play now if you were to have a game tomorrow? Because I know you've been retired, haven't you? But
yeah. I finished playing scrum half.
Scrummy, yeah. And have you sort of played in any other position, or has it always been half back?
Centre, wing.
Yeah. Sort of across the back line. Good. Worst rugby related injury?
I'm a bit like Matt, to be honest. My worst injury is probably a thumb injury. I broke my thumb playing rugby. Few nasty cuts, but I was very lucky.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in esteemed company here because I've had fractured skulls, knee ligaments. I've had all sorts of horribleness. I have, but yeah, I think I got all of your bad luck by the sounds of things. But there we go.
Fine by me, mate.
Best drinking story?
Right, I can't say too much on this, Gaz, but all I can say is that it involved a fish pond, an ambulance, and an overnight stay in hospital. I'm not going to say any more than that.
Was Ben Crutchley anything to do with that by any chance?
I don't think he was at that point, but he might have been.
Yeah. As I say, he's a menace, that chap, isn't he? I can say that now because I live 160 miles away.
Yeah, he'll find you.
I know.
He'll find you.
Right then. Thanks for that, guys. So hopefully now the listeners have got a bit more background on you two gents and why you're here today. So obviously big rugby fans, players and former players. So, you know, we do like our rugby and we love the Lions. So we have spent a bit of time this week picking our 36-man squad for the Lions. So if Warren Gatland, if you are listening, mate, if you're struggling for any last-minute picks, I think we've probably got you covered here because we've done it. So, and what's really interesting as well is we have got several positions where the three of us have picked exactly the same players across the board. So I'm going to start with the forwards. We're going to run through the front row, second row, back row, and then we're going to go through the backs after that. So, loose head prop. This was unanimous. The first name on all of our team sheets was the Welshman Wyn Jones. Yeah. Really good player, brilliant Six Nations. A bit of an old school prop, like really good scrummaging, and it gets around the park as well. He does quite a lot of the breakdown, in good form. I think he inked his name in during the Six Nations, didn't he?
Oh, definitely. He just does all the basics right, doesn't he?
What was interesting was I think we all put Wyn Jones in in first place. I've actually got two Englishmen in. We've gone 3 loose head prop, 3 tight head prop, 3 hooker, 4 locks, and then 6 back rows. So that's how we've split our forwards. And so my first pick was Wyn Jones, and then I've got Ellis Gens and Joe Marla. And you two guys have picked Mako Vunipola as your second pick on the list that I got. Interesting, Matt, you picked Joe Marla as well.
Yep.
You see, I picked Joe Marla for a good reason, and not necessarily because I think there are better props out there at the minute on current form. I think Joe Marla is a brilliant player. I think he's a really good prop. Again, one that does all the basics well. He's not playing international rugby at the minute, but I think as a tourist, he'd be one of a bit of glue to hold the squad together. And this brings me on to something else as well. I was thinking about if you were to go on the piss with, like, if you had like a team of pro players to go out on the piss with, it's you and 3 others. Who would the 3 players be?
Joe Marla's number 1.
Same as me. I'd have Joe Marla in there.
Yeah, he's a good lad, isn't he? Let's be honest. He's, you see these sort of documentary behind the scenes type thing, and he's always there, lifting the spirits, getting them involved in all sorts of shenanigans that they wouldn't be doing otherwise.
Yeah, I'd have Joe Marla, James Haskell, Gavin Henson. What could possibly go wrong? As we sip a Jaeger bomb at 4:30 and look at each other and go,
and copious amounts of hair gel.
Yeah. I just think, like, what could possibly go wrong?
I'd swap Henson for Bill and Hartley.
Oh, he could be quite good on the piss, actually, couldn't he?
I'm thinking Hask, Marla, Hartley.
That's a good mix, that.
It's just carnage straight away.
Yeah.
Great chap and carnage.
Yeah,
I think Haskell would be top of most people's list, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he's just good value, like comedy value across the board, I think, Haskell. What about you, John? Would you say Marla, Haskell, and what's your third?
Yeah, that's a great. I see. I'm getting old now, guys. So we've got to understand, right? So I've never been the biggest drinker in the world. So I'd need somebody just to take the edge off a little bit. You know what I mean? Somebody that I could talk to about some serious rugby once the drinking had got the better of me.
So who would you have?
You're going to shout at me because it ain't going to involve any drinking. But I'd want Mr. Wilkinson there.
Johnny.
Just
oh.
yeah.
For balance.
Just to put the brakes on a little bit.
So when Haskell and Marla are off in the corner, like speaking their own language that they've just invented because they've like completely drunk their livers to the point of, you know, disintegration, you'd be sat in the corner getting coached through it with Johnny Wilkinson.
Yes.
Is that...
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Basically, a piss up in kicking practice then, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be able to hit something then, but you know.
I don't know. Anyway, we digressed a bit there. So you guys, so we've got Wyn Jones, Ellis Genge, Joe Marla for me. Matt, you went Wyn Jones, makeover in a polar, Joe Marla. And John, you went Wyn Jones, makeover in a polar, and then a Scotsman, Rory Sutherland.
Ooh.
Talk to us about Rory Sutherland.
I think good all-round player, good scrummager. You know, you've got to get your scrummaging right. I don't think Marla will go.
No.
So as I can see the reasons why you'd want him to go, but I don't think he'll go. Sutherland's been really strong from what I've seen. So I think, you know, good solid base. Complement that. You know, obviously Wyn Jones is in the same category.
Yeah.
But I've put Mako in, even though he's probably not had a great Six Nations. Just because he offers something that none of the other loose heads can offer, and that's distribution.
Yeah.
He can distribute like nobody else, offloads everything.
You see, I don't see it. I don't, it's controversial, this, and I'm not just saying this to try and be controversial here, but I've never really seen the thing with makeover in a polar. Like, I don't know if I'm just a bit of a dinosaur, and I like my props to be props. You know, I want them to do.
That's it, mate. Yeah.
You know, do I want my prop like chucking passes out the back door? Probably not.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Especially when they're a big lump.
Yeah, he's 20 stone, isn't he? He's a big old unit. Which against the box, you know, he's not very tall either. I always think like you want your loose head prop to be shorter to get underneath the bigger tight head, because you know that South Africa are going to be packing some serious weight down in that tight head position. So you want a good, strong, solid scrummager that's going to get underneath as much as possible. So with a 20 stone and Mako Vunipola, I get that, but I think I just want him to be a prop. I don't necessarily. I don't know. It's just me. It's just my opinion. But
yeah, I just think when you're into the sort of last 20 minutes, you know, you'd start with Wyn Jones, in my view.
Yep.
You're into the last 20 minutes. You may be trailing. You need to be able to move the point of contact and find some space somewhere.
Yeah.
Having somebody that can stand at first receiver, draw a couple of defenders, and make a pass.
Yeah. That's
exactly why I put him there.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got a couple of votes for Vunipola, a couple of votes for Marla, and universal selection of Wyn Jones. So our loose head props are Wyn Jones, Mako Vunipola, and Joe Marla. And I think that, on balance, is a really good selection. And I'm with you, John. I don't think Marla will go in the real squad, but in ours, I think, for me, he's a shoo-in. I think Matt and I are in agreement. He's there for touring purposes.
He's there as a stable head, as stable head as he can be. More, I'd say, behind the scenes.
Yeah, so he's not a test starter, perhaps, but yeah.
And I think he's more reliable than Ellis Genge at the minute, in my opinion.
Genge, I wouldn't. Don't see it.
Great player.
Great player, unreliable, bit of a hothead, causing too many problems, a lot of penalties. You don't know what he's going to do. He's unpredictable, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think he'll come good, though, in a few, and maybe on the next tour, he'll not be 30 in the next tour, and he'll be getting into that sort of prime sort of age for a prop.
I think the next World Cup will be his moment.
Yeah. Right then, let's move across to the other side of the scrum and talk tight heads. This one is actually we can cover this one off really quickly because we've all selected exactly the three same players here, and those three players are Tag. Is it Tag?
I say, but I'm not sure.
We'll call it Furlong. So Furlong, the Irishman, Carl Sinclair, and Zander Fagerson.
Yeah.
Go on then, Matt. Talk to me about Tag Furlong.
A tight head prop that can do a step like he did recently. Says it all, doesn't it, really? That step was phenomenal. He can move, he can scrummage, he can offload.
And it's really weird as well, because I agree on that. And where I'm saying with Makeover and a Polar, I'm saying I don't want a prop. I want a prop to be a prop. With Tag Furlong, I'm saying he can do all of that. I don't know what it is, but maybe I just don't rate Vunipola that much. But I agree with you. Tag Furlong just does it all.
Yeah.
You know, exceptional player.
Consistent as well. Consistently exceptional.
Yeah. And what is he? 21, 22 stone as well. He's massive, isn't he?
Big unit.
You know, you're going to have an horrible South African loosehead giving it the welly against your tight head side, and you want someone who isn't going to budge an inch, and I think he is the man to do it, isn't he?
Yeah.
John, talk to me about Carl Sinclair.
I love Carl Sinclair for the same reasons that I like Vunipola. I just think that Sinclair is at his best. He is within the sort of top 1 or 2 tight heads in the world, and I actually think him getting knocked out at the start of the World Cup final had a huge impact on England.
Agree.
If you look at the way they often play with him again at first receiver, drawing defenders. They use his sort of running game, and he more than holds his own in the scrum. He is in my mind, the sort of epitome of a sort of modern day prop.
Yeah.
In that he can do it all, but he's handling everything. It's just out of this world.
I'd agree. I think again another one who by the next Lions tour or the next World Cup even will be, or maybe not the next World Cup because that's in 2 years. Well, possibly. I think that's going to be a big tournament for him. I think you'll really see him announce himself in those 2 big tournaments. So yeah, shoo-in for me as well. I think he's a great player. Xander Fagerson for me, if I just cover off on him. So another Scotsman in the selection, which is good to see because they historically haven't had many in previous tours. Zander Fagerson for me is a solid, steady Eddie. I don't think he is a test starter now, but he's young. He's good at all of that. You know, he's very good with the basics. He is a prop being a prop. And I think he is really good backup for those 2 big hitters that we've just spoken about. So that was my rationale for putting him in. Great player, and I think he'd be really good value on the tour as well. So that's tight head done. Right then, hooking. We have got. We'll do John first. So, John, you've gone for Ken Owens, George Turner, and Jamie George. Interesting one. Talk to me about Jamie George.
I think George has suffered from that sort of Saracens lack of game time.
Yeah.
But I think that accounted for his sort of poor performance. Saracens are playing again, albeit in the Championship. He's getting some game time. He's a class player. There's no doubt about that. The last Lions tour, he was very, very good. Remember, he wasn't even the first choice England hooker at that point in time.
Yeah.
Line out solid, very, very good. You need somebody that can throw the ball accurately and reliably under pressure.
Yeah.
And I just think he's the man, even though he's arguably not been first choice for England this year.
Yeah, yeah. Matt, anything to add there with Jamie George?
I'll argue what you're saying. I generally can't argue, but if we're talking English hooker, I prefer Cowan-Dickey for the scrummaging only for that reason. And I'm looking at it going Springboks in the scrum. I'd rather put out of the 2 of them Cowan-Dickey over Jamie George personally. I think Jamie George is better in the line out. I think he's better with the offload. I think Cowan-Dickey is more consistent in the scrummaging. I just prefer him. Just about prefer him over Jamie. Yeah.
There's not a lot in it, is there?
No.
There's not a lot in it. I think you're right. Jamie George, what is it? Class permanent, form temporary. He's He's a very good player, but you can see he's not having the impact around the field that he was having like 2-3 years ago. I think Luke Cowan-Dickie is. And I just think Luke Cowan-Dickie's in better form right now. He's better around the park, I think. There was, I can't remember who I was reading the other day, but they were saying basically Luke Cowan-Dickie makes more yardage than some of the back line for Exeter Chiefs. He is just popping up everywhere. And for that reason, I included him in my selection. So Matt and I, sorry, go on, mate.
Do you think, though, if Jamie George had the game time at Saracens and was playing consistent Premiership rugby, you'd pick him over Cowan-Dickie?
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
And I think
that's the key.
It's the set piece that does that, I think. But his set piece hasn't been...
I don't think his set piece is weak, though. You know,
No.
When he's playing well, he scrummages well. He distributes. He'll pop up in these sort of outside pods on the wing and be able to pass the ball. He can do it all. I think I can even remember him chipping through.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah. So he's, but Cowan-Dickie's very destructive, hard running player.
Yeah. You see, would Jamie George, because as you say, he's not in form at the minute comparatively to previous tours and tournaments with England, but is he one of those players who could potentially play himself into form during the tour? Yeah. He could be, couldn't he?
On a normal tour, I'd agree with you, but have they got enough games? So I'm contradicting myself a little bit, but have they got enough games to be able to play yourself in, or do you literally have to go with your sort of best?
You've got to get best of the best of the tour. You've got to get best of the best.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Ordinarily, I think, John, you're right. I think he could play himself in, but there aren't the games. I think is it 3 or something, and then they hit the first test. So, if
you rewound it 4 years and had the same sort of tournament structure as the New Zealand tour, he would play himself into it, in my opinion.
Yeah. And
then the build-up as well.
But it is irrelevant because Jamie George doesn't get into our squad because Matt, you and I picked exactly the same 3 hookers.
I think you're making a big mistake, fellas, on that, got to say. And I think Mr. Gatland will prove me right.
We shall see, but it's not Warren's squad.
Where did you go to school? Where did you go to school?
Where did I go to school?
Yeah, I just think you both went to the same school, didn't you?
Litchfield.
It just explains it. That's all.
Yeah, it does actually explain quite a lot. Actually, the school we went to be fair, but we chose Ken Owens, George Turner, the Scottish lad, and Luke Cowan-Dickie. 2 identical votes. Ken Owens and George. In fact, the top 2 there. So it was Ken Owens and George Turner. We all selected. So they're the first 2 hookers on there. And then Luke Cowan-Dickie outscored Jamie George 2-1. So Luke Cowan-Dickie gets the nod in our squad. So there we go. So let's swiftly move on to the locks. Matt, talk to me about your locks.
Alan, Marrow, James Ryan, and another tag, Mr. Byrne.
I think Tag Byrne's a brilliant player.
Yes.
I think he's awesome.
Yeah.
He was fantastic in the Six Nations. And do you know what I like about him as well? He can play in the back row.
Yep.
He can play 6. And I think that's important for this tour because less games, less players. Normally they'd have like upwards of 40 odd, wouldn't they? So I think Tag Byrne, in the form he's in, he's got to be in there.
And the way he's played with James Ryan as well in the Six Nations, that partnership was phenomenal.
Isn't James Ryan injured, or is he all right now?
I think he has been injured. That's my understanding.
But I think he's back.
Is he back now, is he?
Well,
he'd probably be fit for June, wouldn't he?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got Alan Wynne-Jones, Maro Toji, James Ryan, Tag Byrne, so a Welshman, an Englishman, and 2 Irish guys.
Mm-hmm.
John, talk to me about yours.
Well, I mean, I've gone along the same lines as you, haven't I? So I've gone at Toji, Alan Wynne-Jones, Tag Byrne, and then perhaps the controversial one, Courtney Laws.
I don't think it's controversial at all. He's a great player.
I agree.
The reason I've done that is for the same reason you were talking about Byrne playing the back row. Courtney Laws can do that.
Yeah.
But he is, when he's playing well, and there's always a caveat, isn't there? He is one of the most destructive tacklers in world rugby. Yeah. And I just think we need to be able to stop those South Africans and stop them well.
Yeah.
He is up there in that regard. So that's why I put him in, and that's why I'd make the case. I don't think there's anybody that's quite like him.
No, he's quite a unique skill set, isn't he, Courtney Laws?
Yeah.
If I had to pick a fifth person, he would be my number 5 out of that.
I would be in the same camp.
Him or James Ryan were very close for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get my way again on this one, am I?
I think you might have done.
Well, we've got discussions to have there because, but let me just fill you in on mine. So I've gone Alan Wynne, Marrow, Tagburn, and I've gone for a controversial one, and I don't think I'm going to get my way on this. I've gone for Johnny Gray.
That's a good call.
Good shout.
Solid championship.
Yeah, the reason I've gone for Johnny Gray is I think he's often overlooked. I think he's unfortunate to play in a generation with Alan Wynne, Marrow, James. You know, there's a lot of quality locks. We are well blessed in the British Irish Lions squad department for good locks. It's work rate for me. I think it was 6 years in the Six Nations Championships. He didn't miss a tackle. And you just think that's insane. You know, his work rate, he's also a big old lump of a unit at 6'9" or whatever he is. He's a big, strong guy. And I just think he's a good player. And I've always liked him. And I thought he started the Six Nations really well. He didn't finish it too well, but I've sort of looked past that. And I've included him as my fourth choice. So we've got 3 shoo-ins in the lock department: Alan Wynne, Marrow, and Tagburn. And then we've got to make a decision between Johnny Gray, James Ryan, and Courtney Laws.
So I'm going to make the case for Courtney Laws.
Go on then.
Right. You know, Gray is a really good suggestion. Really good player. Ryan, another good option. But I don't think they are sufficiently different from the other locks that we've picked that they necessarily warrant a place when you compare it to what Laws can offer that they can't.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of line speed that he offers, that destructive tackling, that putting the fear of God into the South African outside half, you know, all those sort of things that's going to buy us time.
Yeah. Split second hit. Split second there is big, isn't it, in Lions terms? So it's a great case. It's a great case. So come on then, Matt. Give us James Ryan.
6'8". It's been consistent. I think he's just that little bit bigger. Although John has kind of just talked me into going Courtney Laws based on how destructive he is.
Do you know what? On
what John's just said, his tackling ability, he's an absolute animal. He can cause damage.
Yeah.
And I don't think James Ryan's hasn't got that compared to Courtney Laws. I think he's got other attributes, but I don't think he's got that. And John, sorry, but you've just turned me.
Do you know what? don't like, you made the case so well. I agree. I think Courtney Laws should go, based on what you and the key thing for me was James Ryan and Johnny Gray are very similar players, and that it like compared to each other, and would make a great second row pairing. But they are also quite similar to Alan Wynne and Marrow. So they don't offer anything different. Like Tagburn offers something very different again. But Courtney Laws is sort of out there. So I've put him down. That's our 4th lock.
He's an absolute pest as well, isn't he?
Eh?
He's an absolute pest to deal with as well.
Oh, he's just horrible. He's horrible. You know, to play against him, it's bloody horrible, isn't it? It's like, anyway, yeah. So I think that's a great 4. That. So Alan Wynne, Marrow, Tagburn, Courtney Laws. That's the locks done. So, right then, let's move on to the back row. Now, this one.
I know what's coming here. This is controversial, isn't it?
This could take a while.
This could actually, because we've got 3 to go into 2 at the end of this. So I'm going to give you the 4 that we all chose. So we all chose Tom Curry, Hamish Watson, Talupe Faletau, and CJ Stander. Okay. And then to choose 3 into 2 spots, we've got the choices between Justin Tipperick, Sam Simmons, and Sam Underhill. And you know, we've got players here that haven't even made our cut. Josh Navidi, Billy Vunipola, you've got the Josh van der Flyer, Jack Conan. There's
so much untapped talent there, isn't there?
The back row is just, I do not envy Warren Gatland having to choose 6 back rowers, because who'd you choose, you know? But it's not about Warren, it's about us, because we are the important ones on this podcast. So Matt, make the case. No, in fact, no. I'm going to say John, make the case for Sam Underhill.
Similar to the Courtney Laws argument.
Okay.
You know, we've got in Hamish Watson, Tipperick, we've got sort of out and out outside flankers.
Tipperick isn't selected. He's one of the 3.
Oh, is he? My apologies.
Yeah.
Well, we've got certainly in Hamish Watson, we've got an out and out, you know, open side. Sam Underhill is probably the most destructive back row forward in the world game at the moment. If you look at him, the way he performed, he was obviously injured this year, wasn't he, in the Six Nations, but where he performed the year before, smashing people left, right and centre, run down his channel, and you're not going to go very far. And that's exactly what the South Africans will try and do.
Yeah.
They'll try and boss us in that area.
He does love the contact, doesn't he? He loves it.
Yeah. We're going to meet fire with Underhill.
Yeah. What's the Haskell phrase? Fold it like a deck chair.
Like a deck chair.
Love it. But yeah, I think Sam Underhill, you can't deny everything you've said there. Like, what a player. Like, if there's a player in the world right now, I mean, I wouldn't like to be tackled by any of this, like, to be fair, but if Sam Underhill tackled you, you like, your grandkids would feel it, wouldn't they? Like, it'd be one of those, like, hold on a minute, I just put my lungs back in. You know, they fell out of my ass. He's a good player, but there's something you said in there. He's been injured, and for me, that is a bit of a question mark, because we haven't got the games for him to play himself into form. But Matt, talk to me about Sam Simmons.
Why is he not England's starting number 8? Is my first. He is, in my opinion, the best 8 England have got at the minute. Billy Vunipola has not performed. Sam Simmons has done everything right at Exeter. Everything. He's just an all-round fantastic player, isn't he? He does everything right. He scores tries. He can run lines. His work at the breakdown's fantastic. He can scrummage. There's nothing that man can't actually do.
Yeah, you can play him in the centre.
You can play him quite easily. Stick him at 12 or 13, and you play fine. He's
awesome.
Yeah, bit of a renegade. He's a little bit loose. Yeah. He's a bit of a renegade, but I think that's what makes him exciting, and that's what makes him dangerous.
I think, for me, he was one of my choices. Sam Simmons was one of my choices. And for all of those reasons, you said that he's top scorer in the Premiership, which is one of the most tightly contested leagues in the world. He's scoring for fun. The one detractor for me is he is a bit loose. And will that go against him? Potentially, yes. In my mind, he should be playing for England, and I think Billy Vunipola is it. Put my teeth back in. Billy Vunipola, I can't even say it. Vunipola, Big Billy. He is a great player. I've always thought he was a one-trick pony. He's a ball carrier, and that's pretty much all he does. For me, I think he does that trick exceptionally well. Like, he is probably the best ball carrying 8 on the planet, but he's not in form. And for me, he's incredibly injury prone. He's broken his arm 3 times in 2 years. like, you just think, like, bloody hell, for a 20-stone man, like, how are you keeping?
A bit fragile.
He is, isn't he? For a big old unit that carries so hard, you think, fucking hell, why are you injured again? You know, but
he's out of form. And there's loads of competition in this area. So for me, he just doesn't go.
No.
Yeah.
Simmons is a slightly different question. I don't think Gatland will play the way that you'd get the most out of Simmons, but so that's why I didn't include him. But I might be completely wrong.
See, I put him in there. I looked at it and went, CJ Stander, yes, he plays 8, but yes, he can play flank.
Yeah.
Falatau with me would be the starting 8. Yeah. And then Simmons would be the backup 8 with CJ Stander there. Yeah, the finisher. CJ Stander can play 8, he can play 7.
Yeah.
He that's why he's there. Looking at the 7, Tom Curry, Hamish Watson working together. Perfect partnership. Tom Curry and Sam Underhill, they're destructive together. CJ Stander's the all-rounder. Tuipe Falatau's a solid 8. Sam Simmons is the loose one that comes in and does bits afterwards.
See, you can't deny with any of this, but I'm going to make the case for Justin Tipuric because, as a Welshman,
he's Welsh.
He like Lawrence Delalio said something a while ago. If Justin Tipuric was born in Wellington and wore the black of New Zealand, we would be singing his praises as the best player in the world. The skill set that he brings to any side he plays it is like nothing that anyone else can bring in that position. Similar to what you're saying about Courtney Laws, he brings something different to the locks. Tipuric brings something different to the back row that can influence a game like nobody else on that list. So for me, Hamish Watson is an unbelievably good player and has to go.
Yeah.
Tom Curry.
Six Nations.
Oh yeah, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. Tom Curry is just too good not to take. Sorry, and he can play across the back row. Falatau is, in my view, the best number 8 in the world, and CJ Stander is another one who can play across the back row very efficiently. Justin Tipuric, in my mind, is an out-and-out 7 that can play 6 well. But what he brings in terms of skill set, you know, he can pass off both hands. He's got pace like a winger. He can kick. You know, you see him putting grubber kicks through. His work at the breakdown is ferocious. And I just don't think there is anyone in world rugby like him. He's also a really good line-out jumper as well. And I think that is a big plus for him because Sam Simmons is quite a short number 8. He's not a good line-out option. Sam Underhill is too heavy and too short. He's a big, solid unit. He's not a line-out jumper. But Tipuric is lightweight in comparison, and you can chuck him up. So for me, Tipuric, he's just got to be in there in my mind. So there we go.
I agree with you on Tipuric. He was actually in my team. And whenever England play Wales, if Tippuric's playing, I think that ain't good. You know, he's a class player.
Yeah.
So I would put Tipuric in. I'm not so sold on Stander. A bit controversial. I did put him in my team. But obviously I'm trying to find a way for Sam Underhill to be in the team.
Right. Okay.
You know, because I just think he's class.
Well, look. We can chop and change this if you feel if I've made a good enough case for Tipuric.
Yeah, he's got to go.
What do you reckon, Matt? We could put Tipuric in, and we could drop Stander for Underhill.
I agree. I'm with that. Looking at it, I put Underhill in. You've argued the case for Tipuric, which, yes, line out especially, he's an exceptional player. He is an exceptional player.
Yeah.
I was looking at a way to. I was looking at Stander as an all-rounder.
Yeah.
do they need an all-rounder at the back row?
Well,
When they've got the players that they've got in those positions.
Well, Tom Curry can do all three.
Yeah.
And I would say that Stander's probably better at 6 than he is at 7.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. So now we've got
I could drop Zander and put in Tippery. It was a tough call between the two.
Yeah. So now we've got we've got Sam Underhill is going in, Tipperick's going in, Stander's coming out. So we've now got a decision to make. Does Zander stay or does Simmons go? Sam Simmons or CJ Zander?
John? Furiously.
I'd take Simmons. I think he's not in my original selection, but having listened to what you guys have said about him and listened to my own arguments about having options, you know, if it comes down to the third test and it, you know, he's on the bench. I don't see him starting. He's on the bench, and you want something else to happen. He can play flanker. You know, it's something where you can make a difference, and he offers something that the South Africans haven't got.
It's creativity, the creativity and the looseness that he's got. He could open up a few things.
The last 20 minutes, or even the last 10 minutes, you can chuck him on when you got like props blowing out their arse. You just get him to run at them and even some run at some of the backs as well.
Some of the lines he's been hitting recently have been absolutely phenomenal, and he's consistently doing it with extra at the minute as well.
So we've completely rewritten the back row.
So where are we now, guys? I'm lost.
We've got it. So I've been frantically sort of trying to follow this. So hold on a minute. So I need to put Sam Simmons in. So we've got right. Okay. So we've got Hamish Watson, Talupe Faletau, Tom Curry, Sam Underhill, Justin Tipperick, Sam Simmons. That's our back row.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm happy with
and
that.
That's heavy duty and skillful. That's good, days. That's good. Right then. Now we're into the backs. So this is where we should flourish now. We should all be singing from a similar hymn sheet here because we're all backs. So we're going to the scrum halves. So this is an interesting one actually, because there is only one difference in this selection. So Matt and we went for Ali Price, the Scottish lad, Conor Murray, Gareth Davis. John, you went for Ali Price, Conor Murray, same as us, and Danny Gair.
Oh, good shout.
Which when I saw it, I thought, what a great shout, because what a player. 300 games for Harlequins. He's not in the England squad at the minute. He's not retired from England. He's just not in the squad. But he is historically England's finishing number 9, isn't he?
Ooh.
And as a scrum half yourself, John, you should know a lot about this. So,
well, I know a little bit about it. I mean, I can't say I was a very good scrum half, you know, guys. So knowledge is slightly limited.
You were a lot better scrum half than I was.
I'll take that.
You played this position for a long time. So
I think it's about, if you look at Price, he's rapid. Yeah, he's got pace. If you look at Murray, I think Gatland will go with him. He's got a great box kicking game. He's solid. He's not as pacey as he was. You know what you're going to get with him. But I think Gair offers something that unpredictability that Matt was on about with Simmons. He's rested because he's not been in the England squad. He's playing really well for Harlequins. He's still got plenty of gas. And I think when it comes down to the backs in certain key positions, we need to be able to exploit any space that we create with raw pace. Yeah. So that's why I include
85 England caps as well.
Yeah.
He's got
something like that.
85 England caps, and he's. Yeah. I can see why you picked him. I really can.
I think it's a great shout. I think it is an absolutely brilliant shout, and it's hard to argue against anything that really. But scrum half for me was one of the hardest positions to choose from, because I think Wales have got a really good talent pool, but none of them are actually banging form right now.
None of them have nailed it, have they, guys? That position, they've not pinned it down.
they've got this lad Thomas Williams at the minute, who they seem to be sort of like pushing to be the starting 9. But I personally think he's shit. I just don't rate him at the minute. I don't think he manages the game well enough. I think he's got exceptional skill sets, but I'm not quite sure if he's test level yet.
A couple of years.
A couple of years maybe. But for me, Gareth Davis is the best all-round number 9 in the Northern Hemisphere right now, on form, and he's not far off form at the minute. He's sniping. He can get round the fringes. He's also quite a big, strong lad for a little scrum half. He's quite a big lad, if that makes sense. So he could, he catches you wrong. He could run through you. He's also got that uncanny ability to nick an interception. He scored so many tries like that over the years. He's just a great player, and like you said, gas to spare.
He was my first pick.
Was it?
Yeah,
Your
first pick. Yeah, first pick.
Yeah. But he hasn't nailed it yet. He hasn't nailed the 9 shirt for Wales.
This is a really important position as well, because we're up against Faf, aren't we?
Yeah.
Who's like the engine. He sets the tempo. He drives everything. So whoever plays 9 has got to be able to compete and be on a par aggressively in his face, all that sort of stuff. And I say to myself, who is the person that's most likely to do that?
Is it Ali Price?
Price? I'm not so sure we're as strong at this at 9 as we maybe think we are. I don't know.
I had him as my second pick, so I would have gone. I wrote obviously Gareth Davis, Ali Price, Conor Murray. Gareth for the reasons Gareth has just said. Conor Murray for the control, the old head. He's been there. He's done it. His box kicking ability is fantastic. He can read the game. Ali Price is my third choice pick.
Right. That's interesting, because based on what we've put, you and I picked the same, Matt. Price, Murray, Davis. John's gone for Price, Murray, and Gair. So what we said, like on the first glance, it's Ali Price, Conor Murray, Gareth Davis that go, because Danny Gair's only got 1. He's outscored 2-1. So what we saying? Are we changing it, or are we keeping it as it is?
I think Price can do a job. I think you put him behind a Lions pack. Look at the way he's performed in the Six Nations. Scotland were unlucky in a lot of respects this Six Nations. They could quite easily have beaten Wales, come away with the win against Ireland. But they're a team on the rise. I think he can do a job. Murray, I just feel like he's just past his best.
So in that case, do we say we'll drop Murray and put Gair in?
Gair and Murray have got a similar sort of experience. They've been there, they've done it. They're both old heads. Conor Murray, you've got the stability. Danny Gair, you've got a little bit more flair, a bit more openness, I think.
We could be bold. Should we go Danny Gair in, Conor Murray out?
I'd like to see Danny Gair in the Lions shirt. After what John said, I'm looking at it going, do you know what? I'd like to see that, just to see what he could do.
Yeah, I'd like to see.
Let's do it. He's in our squad. Danny
I
Gair
don't think Gatland will drop Murray though. No. I think Murray will go.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that Conor Murray he's got credit in the bank, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's just too good to not take.
You know what he's about, don't you? You know what he's about. You know what he can do. He does it well. Yes, he's a little bit older. He may be past his best, but if you want stability, he's the man for stability.
Yeah. But not in our squad. Bye.
We like flair and charisma, we do. We like to be a little bit different.
Right then. So we're on to fly half now. So we've got 2 players here that are in all of our picks, and they are Dan Bigg and Johnny Sexton. And I think those 2 players are in for all of the same reasons we just discussed with Conor Murray, basically. For me, Dan Bigger is at the minute bagging form, playing at altitude on the high veld against this South African team. The aerial game is going to be pretty key. For me, there's no better fly half for the up and under than Dan Bigger. He's kicking it up and he's going again. he's going to go and get it back. You know, there's no ifs or buts about that. He kicks it, he's retrieving it.
Yeah.
And that's important against the box. Johnny Sexton, say no more, class player, like credit in the bank. He's in form, he's playing well. If you want to close a game out, what a player to bring on. For me, big as a starting 10. Sexton's coming off the bench to finish it off.
Yeah.
And also as well, if Dan Biggar does lose his head, because he has had a tendency to do that, whip him off, stick Johnny on, job's a good one. It's the third 10 that is the sticking point for me. Well, that's not a sticking point at all, actually, because you two both went for Finn Russell.
Yeah.
And I, controversially, am taking Owen Farrell as a 10.
He's laying on the plane.
We'll come to Owen Farrell in a minute then. So one of you two sell me Finn Russell. Why is he in your squad?
Creativity.
You want to go, Matt?
Yeah, creativity. What he's been doing in France, it's the flat pass. The pass he throws it's so flat, and the lines that the backs are running onto, he's creating so much space for them. That's it for me. The creativity from him. He's not as consistent as Biggar. He's not as consistent as Sexton. But again, it's that little bit of flair, that little bit of openness. For Scotland, I think he made Scotland a better team than Six Nations.
Yeah, because he was out, wasn't he? And then he came back in because they had a fallout.
He made Scotland a better. He made him a better team than Six Nations. Him and Ali Price working together was phenomenal. They were a better team because he was there.
I think with Finn Russell, you don't know what he's going to do next, and as a finisher, if you're looking to kill the game off, he's potentially the perfect 10 to come on and really put the nail in the coffin. Because if their backs are to the wall, he comes on, starts chucking it round. It's just what you don't want.
He chucks it as well. He's not doing 1 out, 2 out. He's going 3 or 4 out on some occasions, and some of the flat lines are just. Yeah, he creates some serious space.
Yeah, and he's good at utilising he's good at that utilising a chip kick or whatever to sort of overcome that sort of blitz defence and kicking into space strategy. There's more to him than perhaps we realise. I don't think he's just the sort of maverick that couldn't be trusted to run a game. But when you compare him to the others, he certainly is more. He falls more into that than they do.
I don't think he's the best.
You just need him as an option at the as an option, a tactical option, because there's nobody else like him that's playing international rugby in the in the home nations.
I don't think you can start him because
No.
I think if he gets melted by some massive South African back rower in the first 20 minutes, you've fucked. You've lost him, and then your test series is done. I think he's definitely a potential bench finisher for all of those tactical reasons. Now, I decided to take Farrell as a third choice 10, simply for he also covers centre and he's kicking. It gives you another kicking option from the squad. So that was my rationale for it. That was, but I've been outvoted 2-1. So Finn Russell gets the nod. So our fly halves are Dan Biggar, Johnny Sexton, Finn Russell, which is not a bad set to choose from, to be honest. So right then, centres. If you thought the back row was difficult, this is horrendous. So right, so. I'll tell you who I went for because we had the news today that George North has done his ACL, so he's actually out, and he was in 2 of our squads. So I went for Robbie Henshaw, George North, Gary Ringrose, Jonathan Davis, and Chris Harris, the Scottish lad. Matt, you went for George North, Jonathan Davis, Gary Ringrose, Robbie Henshaw, and Manny Tuilagi. Interesting, but we'll come to that in a minute. John, you went John Davis, Gary Ringrose, Robbie Henshaw, Owen Farrell, Cameron Redpath. Another interesting choice. So the centres that make the grade from our squads, we've got 4 of the 5. So we've got Robbie Henshaw, Gary Ringrose, Jonathan Davis, and George North. We've now got 1 spot to fill until an hour before that we started recording, when George North was confirmed out injured. So we're going to take George North out. So now we've got 4 into 2 from the following players: Owen Farrell, Chris Harris, Manu Tuolagi, and Cameron Redpath. So I have no clue where to bloody start with this. Talk to me about Manu Tuolagi, Matt. Silence.
He's ball carrying. He's a devastating ball carrier. And looking at what else is in that little pile, you're going to need someone that can hit and hit hard running. And he wouldn't be a starter. He wouldn't start, in my opinion. But he would come on at 60, 70 minutes if needed, give him the ball and make him run. And when he's got ball in hand, he is absolutely devastating.
He's not fit though, is he? He's injured.
He will be. No, he's back. He's playing now.
Is he?
Yeah, he's back. He's up there with Sale now. I think he wouldn't be a starter. He'd come in.
I disagree, Matt. I think if he was fit, like 100% firing fit, he'd start. I think he's that good.
Yeah, he is. When he's 100%, he is that good.
But I don't think he's going to be fit. Though.
Say again, John.
I just don't think he's going to be fit.
I don't think so either.
I hope I'm wrong, but
this is a fingers crossed moment for me here, purely because I know how good he is, and I think even if he's not 100% fit, I know he hasn't had game time, but I think he could come in and do some serious damage as a finisher.
I think for me, there are too many players out there in the same position that have got the game time, they've got the form, that just, for me, says you can't take him unless he's 100% fit because you want him to start. I don't think he's effective coming off the bench.
When you did this list initially, I wrote him down and then I wrote / Henry Slade.
Slade is a good call. Completely different player, but a good call. I want to make the case for Farrell.
We've got 2 spots here, remember, because George North's out. Hang on. Oh, you don't know? I thought the door went.
No, just Farrell. I can't. No. Go on, John. Entertain us.
Right. Farrell is, at his best, a world-class player. He's a born winner. Previous Lions experience. He's been out of form because of the Saracens situation. And, we know nothing about the England camp. We know nothing about what goes on. I suspect that freed from the burden of captaincy, he could just concentrate on his own game. He would be a very, very effective member of that Lions team. He's a big personality that seems to galvanise people. They want to play for him.
Yeah.
He's got a 80% plus kicking percentage that's proven under pressure.
Yeah.
So I've kind of cheated putting him in at centre because I think he is the 4th choice fly half, but it's quite conceivable that he'd play himself into the starting team.
Yeah. Everything that you've just said there, you could have reached into my head and just taken it and just said, like you said it a lot more eloquently than I would have. To be fair,
I think you're right, Gaz. I
completely agree with everything you said. Now George North's out. He, in my opinion, he would be my.
He's got to go. He's got to go for that. Yeah. I'm going to put him in. I think John and I are sold on it. I think Matt's coming round to the idea.
He would be my 6th or 7th pick out of what's already here. If you then pick 7 centres, he would be in my 7.
Yeah.
For the fact that kicking game, yes, leadership, yes. There's just something I don't like about him, and I've never liked about him. He's not been in form at the moment. Yes, okay, but that's the Saracen situation. Now George North's gone. looking at the rest of my list on there, he would be the next person, in my opinion.
You kind of can't ignore him now North's gone, can you? So, right. So we've now got 3 players in Chris Harris, Manu, Cameron Redpath, and we've got 1 spot left. For me, you can't take Tuilagi when you've got Chris Harris and Cameron Redpath, who were brilliant for Scotland in the Six Nations. Question is, do you want a 13 or a 12?
13.
Bearing in mind, we've got Henshaw, who's an out-and-out 12. Ringrose is an out-and-out 13. Farrell's an out-and-out 12 or 10. And Jonathan Davis, you can do either.
You need a 13.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, you need a 13. Yeah, if you're taking Farrell.
Yeah. In that case,
you need to take a 13.
In that case, it's Chris Harris. He's the 13, isn't he?
Out of the 2. Yeah.
He's the 13, I think. Redpath's brilliant, but he's a 12. He's an out-and-out 12, I think, isn't he? Is it? I don't know. Saying that, I'm sure he's...
Cameron Redpath is inside out-and-out 12.
Yeah. I just think Chris Harris was really good.
Yeah, you're right. I can see the logic in picking a 13 and going with Harris. I can see that logic. I just feel like Redpath could be one of those bolters where he's got that sort of creative spark that that arguably the others haven't got at 12.
Yeah.
That's why I included him.
Yeah.
But you can't. I think you can't make room for him. You can't make room for him. I tend to agree.
Chris Harris he's got the more experience as well at international level.
Yeah. I think for me it comes down to who do you take, Owen Farrell or it's choice of 12, Owen Farrell or Cameron Redpath. And I think for me it's Farrell every day, just simply because of the experience. Now I know that Cameron, how's he going to get experience? But I think this just isn't the tour for him. I think maybe the next one will be. So for me, our centres therefore are Robbie Henshaw, Gary Ringrose, Jonathan Davis, Owen Farrell, and Chris Harris.
Solid choice.
Which is not bad.
Strong.
It's a big old pool of talent to pick from as well there.
Yeah. Right then, wings. So we've got 4 here. So we all picked Louis Rees-Zammit. Yep. We all picked Duhan van der Merwe.
Yep.
We all picked they were the only 2. And then we had Anthony Watson picked by me and John. And then we've got Johnny May, you and John, Matt. So Matt and John. And then the 2 that didn't fit were Josh Adams, choice of mine, and Jack Knoll, who's another good shout. For me, Josh Adams is really underrated, but I think Johnny May will get the... I don't know, I think Johnny May will probably get the nod, but he's outvoted 2-1 anyway. And Jack Knoll, obviously, he's only got the 1 vote. So we ended up with the 4 wings to take would be Louis Rees-Zammit, Duhan van der Merwe, Anthony Watson and Johnny May. What we thinking on that? Happy with that?
Yeah,
Pace. Gas.
Yeah.
My only concern there is Johnny May, if I'm honest, because I don't think he's in as good a form as he has been.
No.
I think on form, he's potentially the best of the lot. But he wasn't great in the Six Nations.
He's worth it. Look at the way England were playing though, mate. I mean, how much ball was he realistically seen? And he's a player that goes looking for ball as well. I think they kind of say to him, just do what you want, Johnny. But England weren't playing in a way that is going to
benefit him,
get the best out of him.
Yeah.
At club level as well, he's been unbelievable as well.
England's second highest try scorer.
Yeah.
He's a finisher. He's rapid. We've got pace all over the place there, and some bulk in Van der Merwe. So
I think for me, you can't not take Lewis Rees-Zammit. He's just in form, like beyond belief. Duhan van der Merwe, like South African by birth. Banging form, massive pacey unit. You can't not take him. He will be bang up for the challenger facing his compatriots. I think he's a Safa really. Anthony Watson, footwork, pace, power. It just ticks every box for me as a winger. He's a brilliant player. Johnny May, mercurial talent. I think you've got such balance in that four. You can't really. You can't really argue that. So let's move on to fullbacks. And this is bang easy, this one is. We all picked Stuart Hogg and Liam Williams. There's nothing more you can say there. The two best fullbacks in the Northern Hemisphere by a country mile.
I'd say Hoggy is probably one of the best in the world at the moment in form.
I'd agree. I'd potentially say he is the best fullback in the world. And Liam Williams certainly number 3, if not number 2.
And he's great on wing as well if needed. Yeah,
he can cover there, can't he? So there we go. We've got the squad. So very conscious. We have pontificated for quite a while on this, but it's been great fun chatting to you two. So right, let's very quickly. I think we'll probably be in unanimous decision here as well. But who's the captain? Oh, I'm going to chuck it out. I think you can't look any further than Alan Wynne-Jones. I think he will be Gatland's captain as well. I just think he is the one player in that entire list there that just commands the respect of all of them.
Yeah.
Referees will talk to him, and he leads by example. So,
I agree. There's a lot of talk about Marrow being captain. I think. If he hadn't have been so ill-disciplined in Six Nations games, he may have been a shout for a second choice captain potentially. But it's always going to be Alan Wynne, isn't it? Always going to be.
I agree with you, Matt. I think had he had a strong championship, I could see them making him captain in a similar vein to how Martin Johnson was made captain back in. When was it? I'm kind of go back 97, wasn't it? When he was made Lions captain back then. He wasn't the England captain, I don't think, at that point. No. But this championship, the penalties, I can't see them going with it. And then you look at it, and Alan Wynne's he is the only one that jumps out and is the obvious candidate. And he's got that proven relationship with Gatland.
Yeah, Farrell, yes, England captain. I don't think he's a stronger candidate.
You don't want Farrell captain, am I?
I think it needs to be a forward as a captain, and Alan Wynne is the way forward.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree. Right then, should we do our starting 15?
Do it.
Lou said prop. Wynne-Jones for me.
Yeah, agree.
Agreed.
Hooking. We've got Ken Owens, George Turner, Luke Cowan-Dickey.
The Sheriff. Ken the Sheriff.
Ken Owens. John.
Yeah, I would agree with that based on form.
Yeah, I'd agree. Unanimous there. Tag Furlong, tight head prop. For me,
we've got Tad,
Sinclair and Fagerson.
Yeah,
I'd go with Furlong because that Irish performance against England.
Yeah, he's brilliant, isn't he? He is really good.
Just that's the way I'd go.
Locks. Right, do you two know the difference between 4 and 5? Is one usually bigger than the other to prop up the loose head?
We've got a bunch of backs talking about forwards now. We're going to embarrass ourselves, lads. So do you want me to just Google it and pretend that we know what we're talking about?
Right-hand side, and they all bend over and push.
yeah. It's straight over my head. I have no clue, but I always wondered if, so the 5 would be. No, the 4 would be behind the loose head. So the loose head's generally smaller. Yeah. So is your 4 heavy, a bit of a bulkier unit to prop that lighter man up? I don't know.
I think you're right, Gaz.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think the 4 normally is a stronger scrummager, but I don't think You know, these days, do those rules apply? I think you've got to be able to do it all, haven't you?
Yeah. I think modern day now, I think they could switch alternatively and not have any issues playing 4 or 5.
Well, I think based on my weird logic, I think we put Alan Wynne-Jones at 4 and Maro Itoje at 5 for me.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Out the others on there, they are the leading way at second row.
Yeah. Right. Blindside flanker. And we've got a choice here of Tom Curry, Sam Underhill, Justin Tipperick.
Curry is my first choice there.
Tom Curry.
Yeah, is my first choice there.
What about you, John?
I think Falatau's. I know you've got to build the balance. I think the only cert there is Falatau at number 8.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I agree.
Let's put him in.
So the reason I'm saying that is then because it's like, well, who's going to play open side?
I think Watson, Hamish Watson for me.
You can play Watson or Tipperick, can't you? Realistically, at open side. Watson's in, so then your choice really is between Curry. You go with Curry. Curry looks good.
Yeah.
In a performing England team this year.
I'm looking at that going Curry, Watson, Falatau.
Yeah.
Based on purely the fact that they're all in form, they've all been absolutely fantastic, and they complement each other.
Yeah, I'd agree. So there's the forward pack: Wynne-Jones, Ken Owens, Tag Furlong, Alan Wynne-Jones, Maro Itoje, Tom Curry, Hamish Watson, Talupa Falatau. Scrum half. Now this is one we spent quite a bit of time on there. So we've got a choice of Ali Price, Danny Kerr, Gareth Davis. I'm really torn on this. I think, John, you should have the deciding vote
as the expert
position. Yeah.
Yeah, the expert. I think Gatland will go with Murray, because he for all the reasons we spoke about before. I would like to see us go with Price. And the simple reason for that is I'd just like to see that energy from the start, that tempo. I don't think that's what we'll do, but that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
I think he'll start with Murray. I personally think he'll start with Murray. And then
boys. It doesn't matter. Conor Murray's not in our squad.
Yeah, so exactly. So let's go with Price.
Yeah.
We've got all the pace, we've got all the tempo. Let's go with that.
Right, fly half. We've got a choice of Dan Biggar, Johnny Sexton, or Finn Russell, who is in the 10 shirt. I'm going to make the case for Biggar to start as well, because I think what Biggar gives you is a big chunk of what Sexton gives you and a little bit of what Finn Russell gives you, more so than what Sexton gives you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that balance, I think Sexton and Biggar are very similar players. Biggar's much more up front and in your face, which is good against the box because they'll be flying in there like hell hath no fury.
Biggar's a better defensive player as well.
Yeah. I think Biggar, in my mind, is the one to start there. So
I'm going to throw a little spanner in the works there just very quickly, and I think I'm right in saying this, that Sexton is the better performing goal kicker.
Yes.
And that being said, that's my case for Sexton starting. You want your best goal kicker on the field.
I don't know what the percentages are, but I don't think there's a lot in it.
Small margins make big differences.
That's true. For me, I want my fly half to be able to dish it out a bit. Sexton has in previous seasons been seen as a bit of a weak link, and you get a lot of heavy traffic through that 10 channel. Dan Biggar will chop them in half. I'm not convinced Johnny Sexton will.
I'm with Gaz.
Yeah, I agree with large parts of that. I'm just looking at the numbers now, and I don't have the percentages, but Sexton scored the most penalty goals in the Six Nations, more conversions than Biggar. We chop them down through the 10 channel, but we don't kick our goals.
Yeah.
These games are going to be tight. Do you think?
Yeah. Potentially.
I think this now depends. Would Farrell start at 12? If Farrell's in a 12 position, I'd go bigger.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, John, with Sexton on the kick.
20 minutes ago, Farrell wasn't even in the squad, Matt.
No, he's not in my squad, but it's a collective squad. If he's in the squad, which we've voted him in now, George is out.
Yeah.
If he's a starting 12,
okay,
I'd go bigger Farrell.
Let's leave bigger in for now because we're going. It's 2-1 at the minute, but it might be subject to change. We've always come back. Right, left wing. Who's on the left wing? I'm going to make the case for Duhan van der Merwe because left wing generally you get a left eye on your own a little bit more, and he's big enough and ugly enough to look after himself. So for me, it's big Duhan. Thoughts?
I agree. Really strong performance in the Six Nations. He stood out.
I completely agree. Completely.
Yeah, I like him.
Easy. Right, let's do the other wing now before we come to the centres because I think centres is going to influence the other choice that we've got to make at 10 still. So on the right wing, in my mind, it's Lewis Rees-Zammit. I think he's
purely on form at the moment, and and that pace.
I think he keeps out the two English boys, but the English boys, you got one of them on the bench, in my mind. So
I disagree. I know we want to get a move on, but Watson is complete proven player at that level. He's a finisher. He's got pace. He is rapid. Great defender. Great under the high ball. He's a proven entity. Zammit would be on the bench for me.
Okay. As a finisher, I could see that working. Yeah.
I agree with Watson's experience. He is an all-rounder. I think Rees-Zammit is just that little bit of excitement. And the pace, there's no one as quick as him at the moment. I think giving the ball, 20, 10, 5 metres out, you're not going to stop him. Giving the ball a bit of open play, you're not going to stop him. He's going to make ground. Always going to make ground. Defensively, he's probably not as strong as Watson. But I think forward, he'd be my pick, and Watson would be.
He's more potent, isn't it, at the minute? And I think for me, that's the kicker. He's just too hot to handle at the minute. So let's stick him in. For now. Fullback Stuart Hogg.
Yeah.
I'd go Williams, but that's because I see him as better under the high ball, but that I think would be a controversial decision. But we know the way South Africa play.
Yeah. That
sort of defensive pendulum amongst the back three, their ability under the high ball, which I mentioned Watson, is really, really important. Hogg, when I've watched him, always looks a little bit vulnerable in that area.
I'm going to agree with you, John. I think 100% he is much better under the high ball. So I think Liam Williams for me is. It's like if Halfpenny was in better form, you'd probably say Halfpenny.
Yeah.
But he's not in form at the minute, and he's not first choice for Wales. Williams is, and that's because he gives you the solidity that Halfpenny offers. But he also gives you a bit more of what Hogg offers, and I think that's why he's keeping Halfpenny out of the team. And if the best defensive fullback in the Northern Hemisphere isn't playing, Liam Williams must be doing something right. And for me, I agree with you, John. I think he is definitely the 15 to start. Right, outside centre, we've got John Davis, Gary Ringrose, or Chris Harris.
Gary Ringrose.
I would agree with Gary Ringrose as a starter. I think he's definitely for me, it's a shootout between Davis and Ringrose.
Yeah,
for me.
I think on form, I think Ringrose is just tipping it. I think he's just slightly the better player. Davis would be a come on and sort of tear it up a little bit kind of guy afterwards.
Davis fully fits the best one out of the lot. I think he's just class. But is he fully fit? Will he be fully fit? Will he be?
I think he will. I think he'll be fully fit. For me, who starts at 12 also not only influences fly off, but also influences 13, because if you start Robbie Henshaw at 12, right, I think you need John Davis outside him for that experience in midfield. So maybe let's leave 13 for a minute, because you could pick any one of those three, depending on who's at 12. So the question now is, are we starting Henshaw or are we starting Farrell at 12?
Out of the two,
Yeah.
I know I've said I don't want Farrell on a plane, but out of the two,
Yeah, Matt's completely gone full on.
I've had to, because you two have thrown Farrell in the mix now, haven't you?
Have you got Farrell written on the back of that shirt?
No, I've got Manu written on this one. you've binned him because of his injury. No, I don't want Farrell there. I don't think he's performed enough to be there. But out of the people that we've got in this list,
well, my 10-year-old, as I said, what I was doing, he said, make sure you pick Farrell because he loves Farrell. So I've kind of got to vouch for Farrell a little bit on that basis. But I don't think Farrell, under normal circumstances, I think Farrell would make the team. I think you could see a resumption of that Sexton Farrell axis that they used in New Zealand.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's there.
I'm going to make the case for Henshaw. I think you need that physicality, and that's what he brings. He goes forwards. He doesn't deviate. He doesn't go diagonally. He doesn't go sideways. He goes forwards. He's big and he's strong and he's abrasive as well. And I like that. And I think you need that in South Africa. For
who do you
me,
think performs better though, out of Farrell and Henshaw in the Six Nations?
Henshaw.
There he is. They're both offer different things, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, Henshaw, banging form. I think he's a quality operator. He's an out-and-out 12. You want your 12 to do its job, and Henshaw's going to do it. He's banging form for me. I think he's a no-brainer.
If we're going Henshaw, I'm going Henshaw Davis then.
Davis.
If we're going Farrell, we're going Farrell Ringrose.
Okay, so if we put Robbie Henshaw and John Davis in at centre, which I think is on balance the best combination we could possibly go for in the centre, for me, do we drop bigger and bring Sexton in at fly half?
Do we want kicking percentage, or do we want bigger who can throw it around and tear it up a little bit more?
I think Sexton will start. For
us or for Gatland?
Well, if it was up to me, Gaz, but it's not my podcast. So I would go with, I'll be straight with you. If I've got to fit far in Owen Farrell, I'd pick Owen Farrell at 10, right? I really would. I know that isn't happening, so it's kind of moot really. But under the circumstances, Sexton's proven quality, good goal kicker, good distributor. He gets in the way defensively. With a strong inside centre inside him, I don't see a problem. Yeah.
Let's go with Johnny Sexton at 10. Yeah. You have kind of convinced me there a little bit. So there's our starting 15. We've got Wyn Jones, Ken Owens, Tag Furlong in the front row, Alan Wyn Jones, Maro Itoje, Tom Curry, Hamish Watson, Talupo Falatown at back five, Ali Price and Johnny Sexton at half back. In the centres, Robbie Henshaw, John Davis, and a back three, Duhan van der Merwe, Lewis Rees-Zammit and Liam Williams. Not a bad side. Not a bad side at all. I think we were going to do the bench as well, but I'm just conscious that we've been on here for 2 hours now.
Have we really?
Yeah. So I think we'll probably draw it to a close at this point, because I've only got 4 hours of airtime to upload in a calendar month. So we've done 50% of that already in one show.
But before you do that, Gaz, right? Before you do that, you asked me and Matt about our alcohol-related story.
Yeah, come on, Gaz, spill.
And you think you're going to get away with not sharing yours?
Do you know what? There was an incident many years ago with a golf tour that involved the club chairman and a tight head prop at the time, who will remain nameless. ended up getting run over by a golf buggy and ended up in A&E with like 12 stitches in his forehead and a hefty concussion. But I don't think I can really say any more than that, because what goes on tour
Stays on tour.
Stays on tour.
Question: were you driving?
No, I wasn't. No.
Disappointed,
No.
Gav. Disappointed.
no, I wasn't. But yeah, it was a long time ago, that was. But yeah. So anyway, gentlemen, it's been brilliant catching up with you and chatting shit about rugby. We've got a great team there. I'll put all the details in the show notes, and we'll draw it to a close there. But thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you both very soon.
See you shortly.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.